All right, so welcome to my last video of 2023, and I want to make this the best video that you've watched this year. So what's been happening recently is I've been communicating with a lot of independent publishers through my live chats, through my case study groups, through my Facebook group, and I've really touched upon some of the things that people are just getting completely wrong or putting massive irrelevant amounts of emphasis on when it comes to their KDP business that is costing them making good, consistent income. So in this video, we're going to go over everything that I've done in the past year that's resulted into December of 2023, making me over $19,000 in 1 month. So this is all going to work together. I'll show the income, I'll show the ad spend, I will show absolutely everything in this video. But what I want to touch upon, what I want to really talk about in this video is going to be a few different topics that are going to help you massively. Whether you're new to this channel, whether you've been watching me for a while, these are going to be new concepts that are going to make publishing for you in 2024 much, much easier and more profitable. So first one, mega important, it's going to be advertising. The amount of people that get this horribly wrong or don't know why they are advertising is insanely high. There's so much information out there on YouTube. I want to simplify this for you, make advertising an absolute breeze for you when it comes to creating your next books. From there, we're going to be talking about a completely new concept, which is testing your book's potential. So what happens a lot of the time is that people get emotionally invested into their low content or medium content book. They run ads to the book for months and months and months and months, hoping for a miracle to happen. And usually it doesn't. So what we're going to do in that section is show you how you can test your book's potential, or at least get some signs that your book is worthy of working on in the long term before calling it quits on that project. So from there, brand new concept. I promise you, it's going to help you with your campaigns, your advertising campaigns. It's going to help you with a title for your book. It's going to help you with your subtitle for your book. It's going to help you with your description and your back-end keywords, and probably also creating manual and automatic campaigns as well. So that's creating a keyword list, which you're going to absolutely love. From there, we'll talk about quantity over quality. We'll talk about how many books I expect to sell from implementing the strategies, from selling low and medium content books in general. And it's important that you understand the percentages for this, because it's going to help you actually stop working on projects sooner. Because again, you don't want to get emotionally attached, thinking that if you create one book, you can make a full-time income from it when you cannot. From there, we're going to talk about focusing on Q4 for 2024 right now. The very moment that you finish watching this video, you're going to start focusing on Q4 for 2024. So like I say, we are going to show off all the stats and everything for this so you can see it's legit. The strategies are going to be working for 2023, 2024, 2025, and so on. The point of this video, the point of everything that I do and talk about, is so that you're not just quickly making a little bit of money or making some money from advertising campaigns, getting demotivated, stopping publishing, not making the money, not having the life that you want. Everything's going to be shown off in just a second. But this section, super important. We're going to be talking about advertising. So let's talk about this. And one thing that I want people to really understand is that for your audience, my audience and every other YouTube channel's audience, the primarily focus on people who are publishing low content, medium content, and low priced books. Okay. So if you're doing low content, you're doing medium content or low priced books, the chances are that your book, if you're watching this now, you're probably publishing between the price points of $4.99 and probably $9.99. So we're in that kind of impulse buy region for our books. That's super important. I'll talk about that in a second. But what I want you to understand is that if you're taking information from YouTube or Facebook groups or anywhere else where there is a fancy advertising strategy that involves you spending a lot of money on ads, these are probably more so relevant to higher content and higher priced books. Because I want you to think of this logically. If you're running ads to try and make a direct profit from your advertising campaigns, logically, you will have to literally have a conversion rate of one sale every 3 or 4 clicks. Now, have you ever seen anybody with a conversion rate that high? It's very rare. Maybe for 1 or 2 campaigns you'll see it, but across the entirety of someone's advertising account, it's extremely rare to see a conversion rate for low content books or any book that high. So when your conversion rate is going to be something like 1 in 10 clicks, 1 in 12 clicks, or something like that, which is acceptable, which is kind of a good range, 1 in 10 clicks resulting in a sale, it means that more than likely you're going to be losing money on that advertising campaign or breaking even. In some cases, you might make a smidge of direct profit. So this is the problem, is that people are taking advertising strategies for higher content and higher price books and trying to implement them into low content and medium content projects. And the result of this, I promise you, is going to be a loss of money because you're going to lose so much money on ads that your profit per sale is not going to be high enough to make that money back anytime this decade. Okay. Super important. And we will go into my account and discuss this in more detail later on. But for now, please just understand this. And of course, I'm going to make advertising for you very simple. And advertising becomes very simple when you set your book up from day one. So you don't start implementing some stranger's advertising strategy 6 months down the line and expect it to perform a miracle for your book. You start from day one, and that is setting up your book. We'll go over that in just a second. But what I want you to actually understand is what ads for your book are actually doing. After all is said and done, after every fancy strategy you've ever seen, what do ads actually do? And the answer to that is that they get you some more visibility and sales that you are paying for, okay? So, like I say, picking up random strategies completely out of your own context is going to cost you a lot of money, and everything needs to happen from day one for you to make a low budget advertising strategy work for you. So, I'll go into my account in just a second and show you some of my campaigns so you can get a better idea as to what this looks like. So, now with that in mind, when you understand that making direct profit from ads is very hard, and that you understand what ads actually do, and that you understand that using random strategies is useless with that in mind, you have to now perform what I'm going to be calling a balancing act. Your book is probably, if you're watching this, you're probably publishing books for $6.99 or $7.99. Okay. So what we want to happen is that we are spending money for our advertising campaigns for our book to get initial visibility, to get some sales, but what we want to happen is the organic sales are massively outweighing the advertising sales. So what I do for every single book is that I put the emphasis on ad spend during the launch period of the book. So for example, let's just say the first month is probably going to be the most important month for your book. That's when Amazon is going to give you that extra boost, that extra visibility. That's when your title, your subtitle, and your advertising campaigns are going to be most potent for getting your book ranked. So after that period, you need to assess, you need to work out whether it's worth running more and more and more and more ads to your book to get more sales if it's not actually resulting in an overall profit. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is go into my December royalties and also go into my December ad spend so I can talk a little bit more about this and actually show you what happens when you use the strategies for low content and medium content and low price books. So I'm just going to come in now to my account and just refresh because obviously there are people that want to see pages refreshed. So as you can see, we're at 15,000 orders, 19,500, whatever. But none of this matters if you're spending stupendous amounts of money on your advertising campaigns. Okay, so I'm going to go into my ads now and just take a look to see how they performed during December. So let's just do a refresh for the advertising campaigns here. And as you can see, it's $479 exactly, 198 orders and 30-cent cost per click. So a lot of you probably watching this now thinking, how is he getting such a low cost per click? So in the section coming up with the keyword list, I'm going to show you everything that you can do to try to get this low cost per click. Okay. So what you're going to see here is that out of all the campaigns that I have, we have over 300 campaigns that I've created in total since I started running ads back in 2018. We have 300 that I've created, nearly 400, and there's only around 20 of these that are being left on. So what's happening here? Check out the ACOS for the kindergarten workbook I created. It's nearly at 80%, which is quite high. Now, the reason that I'm allowing that to go high is because we're kind of in the middle of the launch for this book. So I don't mind the ACOS going high. And also the price for that is at break even. So the ACOS is going to be going high. So I know I have an understanding of the purpose of this advertising campaign here. I understand that it's high during this launch period because the cost per click is probably a little bit higher than I'd like it to be. And also it's running at the break even. So you have to understand every campaign, its purpose, what it's doing for your publishing business. This one here, the CBN manual, okay, this is running at 29%, which is just over the break even point. Okay. So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, do I need to turn this off? Is it losing me tons of money? The answer is no. It's losing a tiny bit of money. Now, what's the logic behind keeping this campaign going? Is that I look at this type of campaign and I say to myself, any type of sale that I'm getting from ads at this point for a newish book is going to be good for my book's organic ranking. I don't mind losing a tiny bit of money. Now, if this was at 100%, at this point, then I would have turned it off. So for example, this one here is getting toward 50%, which means it is losing a bit of money. So what I've been doing for this campaign is just adjusting it slightly, lowering the cost per click over time. We're down to 49-cent cost per click. So it's not losing tons of money. So at this point, I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm happy to keep reducing it because I'm getting some sales with it. The ACOS isn't horrendous, but let's just leave it on and see how it goes. So I'm still working on this campaign here. Now, this one has been going for around a year and it sits at 16%. 16% for an automatic campaign for this type of book is absolutely fine. The cost per click is very low. So we're going to leave it on. It makes sense to just leave it on. Any sale, any additional sale that we're getting for this book is absolutely fine. We have one here, 59%. Now, what I've done with this one is that I've tried to reduce the cost per click as low as I can. But what is happening now is that I'm not getting many clicks to this book. So I'm going to look at turning this campaign off because the cost per click, the ACOS is getting slightly high at this point. Now we have another one here, which is another automatic campaign that I have reduced to 51-cent cost per click, which is running at 30% ACOS, which again is going to be a slight loss, but 30% is absolutely fine. Now, all the while that I'm doing these campaigns, I'm monitoring these campaigns, I'm looking at my organic sales that are coming from these books as well, and I'm weighing up whether it's worth keeping going. And the answer to that is yes, like I'm getting organic sales from these books, the ones these campaigns are relevant to. So I leave these campaigns going. And one other thing that you're going to notice here, if this is making sense, is that a lot of these campaigns, they're automatic, 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 automatic. Okay. So there's nothing wrong with manual campaigns, but what I think a lot of people are doing wrong is expecting to make sales and direct profit from setting up manual campaigns when you really don't need to. We're going to do a section on automatic campaigns and why they are absolutely fine in just a second. But for the most part, the strategy that I work with is creating automatic campaigns. So again, some of you are looking at this thinking, how is he getting a 30-cent cost per click? Now, the answer to that is because I don't always get that. And as you can see, 382 campaigns, I turn off so many campaigns that don't work. If they are getting really high with the ACOS, like over 60, 70, 80, 90%, I just turn them off. I don't need that emotional attachment. I don't need to get stressed over ads. I won't do it. And that's why I turn off so many and leave the ones on that make sense logically to keep running. So that's the kind of balancing act that I'm performing for pretty much every book that I'm publishing, looking at the ads, looking at what the cost per click is, looking at the conversion rate, looking at the ACOS, looking at the organic sales that are coming in from the book, and just doing this kind of balancing act to see if it's worth continuing with the project. Super important. So let's go back to this now and talk about auto ads. So the next section on the creating the keyword list is going to help you with your automatic ads so that Amazon knows how to target your book correctly. Because what I found is that a lot of people, they don't get any impressions, they don't get any clicks, and they don't get any sales from their automatic ads. Okay. Now, I can promise you, as you've just seen from my campaigns, auto ads are absolutely fantastic. Okay. I'm going to give you an example of why they're so good and why it only works if you set your book up from day one. Okay. So what I've done here is come into one of my automatic campaigns for a kindergarten workbook that I've recently published onto Amazon. So we're going to ignore everything that's going on here. But what we want to take a look at is whether Amazon is actually targeting our book correctly for an automatic ad, okay? Because what you're going to find that a lot of people are going to tell you to do is to set up manual campaigns with relevant keywords, and that's absolutely fine. But if you set your book up from day one, Amazon will be able to target your book absolutely fine and better than you with automatic campaigns. So I'm just going to go into the ad group now for this and take a look at the targeting. So if we come into the search terms here, what we can see, if we go through the 71 different types of search terms that Amazon is automatically targeting for us, we can see that these are all relevant to our book. So we have all the school zone, first grade, addition, subtraction, math workbooks. We have addition, subtraction, age 5, addition workbook, children's books 3 to 5, best kindergarten math workbook, easy math book with pictures, kindergarten addition, subtraction books, kindergarten, right? These are all very, very relevant keywords. And Amazon wants to pick the keywords that are going to convert and make you money and make them money. That's why automatic campaigns work so very, very well. And trust me when I tell you that Amazon knows how to target your book much better than you do. So for example, we have a phrase here, kindergarten workbook. So it might sound logical, but if you were doing manual keywords, you may not have thought to put this one in. Okay, so we have this 13 clicks with 3 sales on this, which is absolutely fine. We have this one here, which is kindergarten workbook ages 5 to 6, 15 clicks and 3 sales again. So the conversion rate for that is absolutely fine. And we're letting Amazon decide that for us with our automatic campaigns. So the reason, and if you're watching this thinking to yourself, well, I don't get any clicks, I don't get any impressions, nothing happens with my automatic campaigns, I can tell you now, the reason for that is because you are not pointing Amazon in the correct direction to target the correct audience. So we're going to do that in the keyword list section to help you make sure that you can set up automatic campaigns that Amazon will target just wonderfully for your book. So again, just touching upon this, how are my cost per click so low? Aren't the cost per clicks going up in December? And honestly, no, they're not. The reason that they're going up for you is because you're probably trying to implement some person's random advertising strategies that revolves around creating high cost per click manual campaigns for keywords that are super, super expensive to try and compete for. And even then, you still don't know why you are doing that. You still don't know why you are creating manual campaigns. And we've established you're probably not actually making any money from them in the first place. So the next section on this keyword list, which I keep talking about, is going to help you with all of it. I absolutely promise you. So I hope that last section was helpful on advertising. If you don't understand any of these concepts, then please leave a comment. I will, within the first hour of this video, I tend to answer as many questions as I can in the first hour. So if you have questions, make sure you ask them as soon as you watch this video. So let's talk about this now, creating a keyword list, a new concept that is going to help you massively with so many things because it's going to help paint a picture for your Amazon auto ads. And I can promise you, your cost per click is going to go down when you start creating these automatic campaigns, okay? It's also going to help us create keyword-based titles and subtitles. Now, what I don't want you to do is to try and get your books ranked for manual keyword campaigns that you create for ads. Trying to create a manual keyword campaign is going to cost you money because you think you're going to get ranked for that term. You will not get ranked for that term that easily, I can promise you, unless you are using those terms in your title and your subtitle and your backend keyword slots as well, okay? So this is why everything works so well together. Auto ads, getting ranked for your titles and subtitles so that you don't have to worry about fancy advertising strategies. You don't have to worry about all these fancy things people are talking about. It's going to make life so much easier. You're not going to have to monitor your ads 24/7. You're not going to have to worry about your cost per click. All those things. Let's do this now. Let's do an example of creating a keyword list. Okay, so let's do an example now and create a keyword list for a book. So like I say, this is going to help you paint this picture for Amazon so that when you are creating an automatic campaign, Amazon knows exactly how to target your book so that you can get good impressions, good low cost per click, and of course, more sales to your book from your automatic campaigns, okay? So it's going to help you with your title as well, your subtitle, your backend keywords, and your description as well. So what we want to happen, and a big mistake that people make, and what I believe one of the reasons is that people don't get impressions for their automatic campaigns, or they get a high cost per click for their automatic campaigns, is because they're not painting this picture for Amazon to target, okay? or they're being extremely broad with the type of book that they're creating. Okay, so let's do this and create a keyword list now. So let's just do an example here for a coloring book. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do something like a bird's coloring book for adults. Okay, so and again, just to touch back up on the broadness issue here, if you're creating books that are in very broad niches, so for example, if you're just creating an activity book for kids, or if you're just creating a maze book for kids, when it comes to targeting that with your automatic campaigns, it's going to be expensive because the broad search terms that Amazon's going to pair with that are going to be so broad and competitive that your cost per click is going to be high. So think of it this way: the broader that your book is, the broader your niche is, the higher cost per click will likely be. So we need to paint this nice picture for Amazon so they can target our books and give us that decent cost per click. So creating this keyword list, now one of the first things that we can do is come up to the search bar here, type in the initial search term that we were going for, so bird coloring book for adults. We can write that down into the keyword list if we want to. But if we come across, we can see the different suggestions that Amazon is going to be giving us. Now, so we can take the words from here like beautiful, flowers, relaxation, teens, amazing, reverse, exotic, houses, pencils. We can take all of these words and put them into our keyword list. So I tend to just do mine on Word. Now, you don't have to worry whether these are like full blown phrases or just singular keywords. Just write them down into this keyword list. So we had birds, we had beautiful, we had relaxation. Okay, so let's just get that down here because they're all, if Amazon's suggesting it, it's going to be a relevant search term for us. Okay, the next thing that we can do here after we've done that is to go through our competitors' books and to pick out keywords that are being used more than once in multiple listings. So, for example, if we scroll down here, what you're going to be able to find is that you'll probably see words or phrases like large print, stress relieving, which I wouldn't use, relaxation, illustration, women, men, simple. Okay, so writing these down. So women, men, simple, relaxation, which I wouldn't use just to clarify relaxation, but just for an example, if I could spell it right, relaxation. Okay, so we have other words here like calming, designs. You just want to write as many of these down as possible. When these are the type of words that are cropping up multiple times in multiple listings that are on the front page. Okay, so we have things like nature here as well, possibly grown-ups, serenity. Okay, so that's more of a descriptive term. It's not necessarily going to be a good search term, but we can use these words as well that are working for other people when it comes to just describing their book as well. But primarily we want to look for the search terms that we can include in our keyword list. Okay, so that's one way that you can do it. You can keep scraping through those relevant search terms. You can go broader and look for something like coloring books for adults and just see the more generic terms that people are using. But I'd make sure that you are kind of going after what your competition has done as well. So the next thing that you can do here is to use Cerebro from Helium 10 to give you some keyword suggestions. I use Cerebro. I've been paying for it for a while now. I don't necessarily recommend it to people because it's quite expensive. There are other tools that do this. I don't know which, but obviously it's down to you. I don't have any links or anything for Helium 10 or any software like it, but you can get some keyword ideas from using these type of tools. So what you can do is to take one of your competitors' books that's doing well, and we're going to scroll down and we're going to take the ASIN for their book here, which is this one. Then we're going to go ahead and plug that into Helium 10 Cerebro. So let's come over here, plug this into Cerebro, get the keywords, and we're going to see on the right-hand side, there's going to be this kind of little keyword suggestion list here, the word frequency. So you can check these out and see if there's any other terms here that you haven't found yet. So relief, lover, animal. You probably want to include animal in if you're doing like a bird coloring book. So let's go and put animal. Relief was one as well. And maybe possibly lover. So that's like for bird lovers. I don't think people are searching for it, but it might be a good term just to use to get clicks anyway. Okay, so from here, what you can do is go ahead to the keyword phrase section here. And again, start taking more relevant keywords that you find inside this list here. Okay, so you just go through all of these. If you're doing things this way, pick out any search term that seems relevant. So you don't want to take any irrelevant search terms like Harry Potter or whatever, or RV road trip. Obviously, you don't want to include that. It's not relevant. We want to try and make the most relevant book possible so Amazon can target our books with our auto ads. So if you're doing things this way and you don't get enough search terms come back from Helium 10, you can obviously try other search tools. You can try other people's books inside of these search tools as well until you have enough keywords that you're happy with, enough so that you can create your title and your subtitle. So once you have this, you're going to be able to paint this picture for Amazon so that you can actually get those cheaper cost per clicks for your book. Okay. So what I tend to do, and just to let you in on how I kind of structure all of my titles and subtitles, what I use for the title for my book is going to be the most logical search term that I can think of. So for a bird coloring book for adults, the title for the book is going to include somewhere in the title birds coloring book for adults. Okay. So from there, what we want to do is to create the subtitle using our keyword list. So once you're doing this here, if I just scroll in so you can see, what we're going to be doing is using, and ideally your keyword list will be much longer than this, but we're going to use these terms to now create this subtitle, because trust me when I tell you that there is a lot of emphasis and power that goes behind your title and subtitle when it comes to the importance of the keyword placement. Okay, so for example, the keywords are going to be more powerful in the title than they are in the subtitle, but the keywords in the subtitle are going to be more powerful than those in your backend keywords and description. So that's why we're making sure we're using all these relevant terms in the title and subtitle, okay, because we're going to start getting ranked for those search terms. Okay, so using our keyword list here, we'd go ahead and we'd create something like a 40, so you'd end up with something, and this was just made very quickly, 40 beautiful, easy, simple animal illustrations for bird lovers for adults and seniors. Now, obviously that reads terribly, but what we're trying to do is to get as many of these keywords into this subtitle, but we want to make sure that the subtitle still reads well and makes sense, okay? So the remaining keywords that you have in your keyword list, you can include them into your backend and spread them out throughout your description of your book as well. So creating, again, this really great picture of what your book is, your target audience, the subject of the book as well. We're really going to be telling Amazon from day one what our book is. So again, let me just highlight this example here. If you are doing your title and your subtitle, in fact, let me just change this color here. If you're doing your title and your subtitle, let me zoom in here like this here, just so that you can see this. I'm going to take it off the bold. So if you're going super generic and super broad with your title and your subtitle doesn't have any relevant keywords in it, Amazon's going to have a harder time doing the automatic campaigns for you. Okay, it's going to be too broad, too general, and it's just going to end up with a high cost per click, or you're not going to get any impressions for your advertising campaigns. And in general, when it comes to your niche selection, when you're doing a niche research, I would never go this broad. Like, yes, the niches I get into are super, super competitive, but going this broad makes everything so much harder for you, okay? So broad, maze book for adults, but we're niching down in this one here. So we have birds coloring book for adults. It's more niche down, which means we can create this more specific picture for Amazon to target. Hopefully that makes sense. So the great thing here is that when you're creating your title and your subtitle with keywords, now this isn't keyword stuffing. We are simply telling Amazon what our book is about, what's inside our book. The great thing here is that after you start getting sales to your book, you're likely to get ranked for the title of your book first. I absolutely promise you that. And then from there, you're likely to get ranked for variations of your subtitle and title, okay? So if you're using commonly used keywords in your subtitle and your title, what's going to happen is that you're going to start over time, if you get enough sales, if your book is good enough, you're going to start getting ranked for these variations as well. So you might end up getting ranked for easy birds coloring book for adults, or simple coloring book for adults, or animal coloring book for adults, or beautiful coloring book for adults, or bird lover coloring book. All these search terms you have the potential to get ranked for, and that comes from creating your title and subtitle with a keyword based focus. Okay, so this is not to say that you cannot get ranked and you cannot make sales if you don't have such a keyword based title and subtitle. It just means it's probably going to take longer for that to happen. So everything we do, the way that I have a low ad spend is because I'm making sure from day number one that I'm setting things up to make sure that the ad spend is going to be low by targeting and getting ranked for these search terms as fast as possible. And for me, after testing this for a very, very, very long time, this is the optimal way to do things. So now let me talk about something that is costing you probably a lot of money when it comes to advertising campaigns. Just moving back to that quickly, because this is something that I found that a lot of people are doing and it's costing them a lot of money and also resulting in a very high cost per click for their campaigns. So what people will do is that they will try to get ranked for a certain keyword phrase and then run advertising campaigns to that keyword phrase. So by that, I mean creating a manual campaign of a specific phrase they want to get ranked for and spending tons of money hoping that they're going to get ranked for that phrase. Now, I have tested this and I think it's incredibly hard to make things happen this way. But if you're using that phrase in the title or subtitle of your book, you're going to get ranked for that anyway, much quicker, I can absolutely promise you. So let's use an example back here with the birds coloring book. So let's say that you released your book, but you want to get ranked for something like, let's say that we don't have animal in here. Let's say that we want to get ranked for an animal coloring book for adults. We want our book to be on the first page for that search term. So what a lot of people do, thinking, and it does kind of make sense to do things this way, but it doesn't really work like that, is that they create a manual campaign for the keyword animal coloring book for adults, spend loads of money on that, and they don't see their ranking for that search term changing hardly at all. Now, if you're using those search terms anyway in your title and your subtitle, no matter, I got interrupted there, so I'm not actually sure where I was, but what I was saying was that if you include this term in your title and subtitle, no matter where the sale comes from, so you could get a sale from a completely irrelevant keyword and just get a sale, whether it be organic or from any advertising campaign, no matter what it is, that is going to push you for that search term to some extent. Now, I can't tell you how many sales it would take, but I know that running those very specific manual campaigns is a waste of time, in my opinion. So what I'm saying is that if it's already included, those search terms that you want, that you really want to get ranked for, if they're already included in your subtitle and your title, you will get ranked for them so much easier and quicker than trying to create specific manual campaigns, okay? Okay, so let's move on and talk about testing a book's potential during the first 1 to 2 months of that book being released. So here's the problem. And I guarantee people watching this, a good percentage of people watching this are doing exactly this, and that is getting emotionally attached to one book because you believe it's good, okay? We don't put out books because we think they're bad. We put them out because we think they're good and we think they're going to make sales. The reality is they're probably not good in terms of what Amazon's customers want to buy. And honestly, no matter what anybody says, the success rate for publishing books, independently published books, is not great. Like, that's just the way that it is. And I'll go over the stats for this in the next slide. But the problem is that we've been led to believe that we can create one book or two books, run advertising campaigns to them because we're in a hot niche and start making sales. Now, the problem is that you're going to get emotionally attached to this one project. And if you're running ads, you're going to lose a ton of money. So for me, I pretty much always give myself some criteria to go by when it comes to cutting off a book's project, cutting off a project and winding it out. So winding it down and not working on it anymore, not spending more on ads. And what we're going to do is kind of have this sort of test phase during this first 1 or 2 months of our book being released to see if there's enough evidence to suggest that we can actually keep working on this book in the long term, i.e. keep running ads to it. So I'm going to go over some of the ways that I do this now. So we're going to be doing this primarily during the first 1 to 2 months of our book being launched. Now, what I'd like to see is that there are just some signs that my book is worth working on, okay? So just a few of these are going to be such things as, how are your advertising conversions? So I pretty much believe that a low amount of ad spend and a low amount of clicks is not a big enough data pool to really get a true understanding of your conversion rate. But I think it's good enough to give you an idea as to whether your book is actually being taken into the marketplace, whether it's just desirable in general. So if you've been running ads for a couple of weeks and you have maybe 100 or 200 clicks and you hardly have any sales to see for that whatsoever, no matter what type of advertising campaign you're running, you should have more sales than that at that point. No matter what advertising strategy you're using, auto campaigns, manual, product targeting, whatever they are, there should be something to show for that with your conversion rates for those ads. So just to use the kindergarten book that I'm currently in the sort of second month of the kind of toward the end of the launch period for this book. I don't know the exact date that I would use for a launch period, but typically it's between 1 and 2 months, right? So what I'm doing here during this period is I'm assessing, is there something for this book that is working out for me? Is there something people like? Is there something the marketplace is responding to? So the first thing that I like to take a look at is if I have 143 clicks here for this campaign and I have 20 orders here. So if we do 143 and we divide that into 20, we're getting one sale every 7 clicks to our book. Now, if you are getting one sale every, let's say, 30 clicks for your book or 40 clicks for your book, no matter what campaign it is, you probably have to make the assumption at that point something is not quite right. So since I can see that this book has some potential, it is converting to some extent through just advertising campaigns alone, I'm going to keep this going. Okay, so obviously it's a bit of a strange period for a kindergarten workbook, but hopefully during January, there's going to be some more data that I can work with for this book. And like I touched upon before, the ACOS is quite high because the book is at a break-even price still until January, when I'm going to up the price from there, but that's a different matter. So that is the first thing that gives me some good vibes going forward with that book, is that it has decent conversions in the advertising campaigns. So from there, what we can do is take a look at the organic sales during the first month. Now, the way that you can do that is to pair your advertising sales. It's not going to be 100% accurate depending on the day that you do it. Your advertising sales versus the sales in your entire dashboard reports. Okay, so if your reports are saying, for example, on that book there, it has 20, and there's, I think, maybe 30 sales in total to that book, meaning that 10 of those are probably going to be from organic traffic. That's another good sign that we have something to work with here, because there's obviously some visibility. Something has worked for us. We're getting early day organic traffic and visibility, which says to me, okay, I'm happy to keep going forward with this book because we're making some organic sales. That's another positive sign for our book. So the other thing, this is really important and something I've never heard people talk about. Another thing that's really important that gives me a lot of confidence is how volatile is your ranking. So let's go back to our keyword list and look at the example used in that to show you what I mean by this. So let's say that the niche that we were in was the bird coloring book for adults, and the main keyword that we're going to try and get ranked for first was bird coloring book for adults. Now, if I was running ads during the launch period for the book and I got some sales, I could see that my book was on this page here, and I can see that it's been ranked onto the first page. What I like to monitor is how hard it is for me to stay ranked toward the top of the first page. So if I get a few sales and I can see that I'm ranked to the first page, at the top of the first page, now what I like to look at from there is that if there's a period where the book is not making sales and the BSR is starting to go up, I like to see how badly that affects the ranking for the book. So if you don't get many sales in a day for that book during your launch period, and it starts slipping all the way to the bottom here, and the ranking just isn't sticking, that keyword isn't sticking for you, that's a bad indication that you're going to have a hard time sticking around for that main keyword. It means that you're going to have to spend more money on ads to get that book ranked. It means that your organic sales are going to have to be huge to keep your book ranked higher. Now, what I found with the kindergarten book that we did an example here is that it's not had any sales really during the Christmas period. Like the last week, it's hardly had any sales, but it still remains maybe on this line here. I can't remember exactly where it is, but it's high enough at the moment with the ranking. It's high enough that I don't feel the need to pour tons of money into advertising campaigns. Okay, there's always a thought process that goes behind spending money. Don't spend it like an idiot just because ads are the thing to do. Actually track what your book is doing. Like I say, the reason why this is a good indication is because it means that your main keyword, whether that's bird coloring book for adults or monkey coloring book for kids or color by number book for seniors, whatever the search term is, it's a good sign that you don't have to get that many sales from ads to keep it ranked organically. Okay, so from there, what it means you can do is go easy on your advertising campaigns and hopefully let the organic sales keep your book ranked high. Okay, so this is another thing, very, very important when it comes back to understanding why you're running ads. Ads equals sales. That's all that it is. So if you're someone that feels the need to spend thousands of dollars or hundreds on every single book that you have every single month, I would say to you, have you thought about the possibility of reducing the ad spend and letting your organic sales take over? Because realistically, if ads are just there to make sales and organic sales are also there as well, what is the benefit to having those additional advertising sales? Okay. So if you're getting 150 organic sales a month and you're getting 50 advertising sales a month, is there really going to be any difference? What it's literally doing for your book, is there going to be any difference having that additional push from ads? Now, obviously, that would work out just fine if your ACOS for your advertising campaigns is good. You'd obviously just leave it going with the assumption that any sale is a good sale. But if you're spending tons and tons of money on ads, you have to ask yourself, why are you actually doing that? And do you need to do that every single month? Which is the exact reason why, if you just saw in my account at the start of this video, the royalties are so high, but the ad spend at $450 or whatever it was is relatively low. And of course, there would be the argument that, well, if you just spend more on ads, won't you make more money organically? And the answer is possibly. I just don't know. But the thing is, if you're doing that for every single book for every single month, how much money are you going to spend every single month? There has to be a point where your organic sales are really outweighing those ad sales. And this is not me telling everyone to just turn off your ads and hope for the best. You really need to monitor what's going on. Make sure that the amount of sales that you're getting from organic traffic is high enough to warrant at least reducing your ad spend. Here's another thing that you can do, and I wasn't going to include this but because it involves helium-10, but you can do this if you do have helium-10 Cerebro. Let's say that you have been running ads for 2, 3, 4 months and you're not happy with the amount of ad spend that you're putting into your book, or you can do this at any point, but you probably want to give your book some time for this to actually work. Now, I'll use someone else's book as an example here. Let's say that we want to check to see where our book is being ranked. So how many different keywords we're on the first page for. Okay, so this is super important to making an educated decision. What is that? An educated decision as to whether we should stop or reduce our advertising campaigns. Now, what you can do, let's just say this is our book here. In fact, that's a not independently published. Let's take this one here. Assume all these books are AI produced now. What we can do is take the ASIN for this and go over again to Cerebro for helium-10. And then we're going to plug that in and it's going to fetch the data here. So let's just wait for that. Now, what you're going to see down here as we scroll down onto the right-hand side is that we're going to, let's just expand this to keyword phrases. We're going to see the organic ranking for these different keyword phrases. So at this point, if you have a really great organic rankings like this guy does here, for a lot of different relevant search terms, so flower coloring book for women, he's ranked really well. So let's just check that out. Flower coloring book for women, he's here. Okay, so he's ranked for that. He's probably going to be ranked for the title and other variations of his subtitle as well, which leads me back to the keyword list, which is going to help you achieve the same thing. So at this point, like, you might look at it and go, well, my ACOS for my books is 70% on some of my advertising campaigns. Why don't I just reduce that? Because I have so many good placements. I don't need the advertising spend to keep the book ranked, because ads on organic sales, they do the exact same thing mechanically for your book. It's just getting more sales. But if it's at the cost of losing money, so much money every single month, then it might not be worth it. And for me, we come back here, if we just go into my amount of spend here, it's probably gone up. So 400 and no, that's not right. So 481. Now I have to pay an extra 20% on top of this. Okay, so it's an extra $100 I have to spend because I'm in the UK. So it doesn't make sense to spend tons and tons and tons and tons of money on ads. So all of this, these are ways of testing during the first couple months of your book being released, whether it's worth working on in the long term. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the next section here, which is going to be quantity over quality. So the reason that I want to talk about this is because the information in this video and every other video where people are talking about strategies, they're talking about the advertising campaigns or niches or anything at all, none of it matters. That's why we want to simplify the process of advertising as much as we do, because no matter what strategies that we're using for our ads, if your book is bad, it will not work in the long term. So what will happen if your book is not good? I promise you this will happen to you. You will spend money on your advertising campaigns. You'll get a few clicks, a few sales here and there, and you will keep going and going and going and going and going until you lose a ton of money. And I promise you, no matter what advertising campaign you use, it will make no difference. And that's why I say automatic campaigns, fantastic, work amazingly well when they have a purpose, when they are created from with day one in mind, with all the keywords, the low ad spend, everything in mind. They absolutely work 100%. So here's the thing, with people telling you about focusing on your quality over your quantity, it's kind of a joke at this point when people say that, because it's obvious, of course, quality is going to matter. But the problem is that people don't have an understanding of what quality is, which means that if you don't understand what quality is, which most people don't, including myself to some extent, I have a lot of books recently, 4 or 5 books in different niches recently that just aren't good enough. I think they are, but they're not, because I haven't been practicing in that niche, publishing books in that niche for long enough to actually achieve the quality. I promise you, producing more books is going to achieve that quality that you are looking for, okay? Once you start producing more books, they're going to be of a higher quality. If that's your mentality of making each book better and better, the books are going to get better and better. Now, what's going to happen then is that your advertising campaigns are going to work even better, and your budget for your ads is going to go down. This is why you stick with a budget for your ads, because if you don't understand this quality yet, which you probably don't, including myself, you have to limit the amount of money you spend on ads. So for me, with every book that I publish, I put a hard cap of around $250 for the first month, and then assess things from there. Okay. So that's why we're doing all of our keyword lists, our auto campaigns, our testing our books progress, monitoring our books, all those things. That's why we do this, because we can't guarantee that we're going to make sales. So let's say that you have an understanding of quality, you've produced a few books, you're implementing the strategies that you've seen through my videos, low content books and medium content books especially. How many books are actually going to sell? Now, this is important because, again, if you produce 1 book, 2 books, 3 books, 4 books, and you're not seeing the sales that you want to see, it's probably because it's perfectly normal. So I would expect, at my stage, for 1 in 25 books to become bestsellers. Now, if you hit a bestseller, which I have done, I think, twice now, you can make a ton of money, but you have to be implementing these strategies, understanding quality, etc., for this to happen. You have to be rigid. You have to stick with a plan. So these numbers are going to be obviously wrong, but I would say maybe 1 in 10 books that I produce are selling well. And by selling well, I mean maybe make around $200 a month. I don't know exactly how much. And then from there, we have 1 in maybe 5 that just sell over time. So by that, I mean they will eventually make their profit back. These numbers are some bullshit, by the way. I just made them up. But this is the kind of attitude that you have to go into this with, to understand that you have to keep producing books. You have to keep doing this. And that's the importance of having all these strategies and budgets in place. Because if you're spending a million bajillions every single book on your ads, you're gonna end up bankrupt like after a few books. It doesn't make any sense. But trust me, this is obvious. And I went through this period where I wasn't publishing many books. I was happy to maybe make $2,000 to $3,000 a month with those books, but it's one of those things that if you just keep going and going and going, and eventually you hit that bestseller, and that can triple, quadruple your income. Now, when it comes to Q4 as well, that's when everything is really going to pay off. All this work that you put in throughout the year, that's when it's going to really pay off. As you can see from the royalties for, I think November was 10,000. December, hopefully we'll hit 20,000 as well with this low ad spend. So talking about Q4, when is the best time to focus on Q4 for 2024? The answer is now. It is right now. Prepare for Q4. You can make a ton of money, especially November, middle of November to December the 22nd, 23rd. You can make a ton of money, more money than you make throughout the rest of the entire year. Now, what I heavily advise that you don't do is wait until September to start publishing books, or even worse, October or November to start publishing books for Q4. Publish them now. Get them established. Keep working, keep practicing, keep finding niches, keep working on the keywords, keep putting books out there. And when you hit those books that do work, that do stick in the marketplace, come Q4, if they work, you will quadruple the amount of sales that you typically make for those books. Now, Q4,
does not mean that your shit books that aren't selling at all are going to start taking off and making you tons of sales. It means that if you have books that are already selling, they will probably 3 to 4 times what they usually make. And also, I failed to mention at the start of this video, but the stats that you saw, they are for books that were produced in 2023. Okay, so it's not like books that got lucky in 2018 that just magically stuck around for the whole time. These are new books, and it's exactly what I plan to do for 2024 as well. And I highly suggest you do the same as well. Start preparing for Q4 so you can enjoy those mega months. So let's run through this very quickly. Let's go through everything that I think is going to give you success for KDP in 2024 and beyond. So let's just go through this again, everything we've talked about. Let's simplify the process. So we want to create more books. That's one of the main things here, is stop getting emotionally attached to one book. Create more books. Number 2 is that you want to make sure that your niche has got buyer traffic going to it. Super important. If you're doing the whole impulse buy region of pricing, which is like $6.99, $7.99, $8.99, you want to make sure that we're capitalizing on niches that have got lots of buyer traffic going to it. That's how we can keep our ad spend super low. That's why we do what we do. From there, obviously, you want to make sure that you create a keyword list for every single book. We spoke about why that helps you with your title, your subtitle, your back-end keywords, your description, and of course, helping those automatic campaigns get impressions and lower cost per click. Make sure as well that we have keyword-based titles and subtitles so that we can get ranked faster onto Amazon for more than one search term, of course. Number 5, we want to forget about special ad campaigns that don't work for low content and medium content books. Special ad campaigns are fantastic for books that are probably priced much higher, so higher content books typically, and just run auto ads, provided that you set things up from day one with everything that we've outlined in this. Of course, to understand the ads purpose as well, which again is just to make you some sales, which is going to help you get ranked and help you stay ranked. And again, I want to try and get that balancing act between ad spend and organic sales. From there, of course, budget and test your book's potential. Super important when it comes to not being emotionally attached to your book. Like, there might be an occasion where you cut off your book because you've done this 1 or 2 months of testing your book's potential, and that book could have gone on to sell better. Now, you can't run with that assumption that at some point every single book is just going to take off. You will have to cut that and save that money that you have for your next project. So that's the importance of budgeting and testing your book's potential. Alongside that, we're going to be monitoring the rankings. So all of those keywords that we've created for our title and our subtitle, let's keep monitoring every time that we get sales to our books. Let's keep monitoring to see where we're being ranked, how volatile the rankings for those keywords are as well. It's easy stuff to do. It's only going to take you a few minutes each day. Number 8, and don't be ashamed that if you have to give up on a book that isn't well enough, and trust me, I've done this. Like, if you've been in the case study groups, like a couple of these books at least, I've given up on because I can't keep running advertising campaigns. Like, I've gone through the test periods and I've decided that they're just not good enough. Like, I've no problem saying that. Like, it's just the way that it is. You have to give up. You can't keep going and going and going and going and going, because the money is gonna add up and it's gonna take you way too long to make that money back. Okay. So, and of course, we leave the ones going that do work. So if you looked at my ads account at the beginning of the video, you'd have seen that I only keep the campaigns going that are actually working or serving a purpose. So serving a purpose during the launch period is, of course, to get the book ranked. Now, the long term, the ones that I leave on are the ones that have a good enough ACoS to warrant being left on. It's simple stuff. It's logical. Why would you leave a campaign going that has for months on end that has like 100% ACoS that's costing you tons of money? Trust me, your book isn't good enough. That's the reason. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this video. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe, like it, helps me out a ton. Feel free to join the Facebook group from the description below. We're building up quite a nice friendly Facebook group of people, like-minded people that want to help each other out. I'm quite active in there as well. Feel free to join that. I'll accept you within usually 12 hours. But yeah, that's it for this video. Hopefully it helps you, and I'll see you in more videos in 2024.